Arteta! What a strike! What a screamer!
Zola! And a fantastic goal! Arsenal back in it!
And here's Limpar, lines it up, finds the net. Arsenal in front.
Tony Pulis caught feverishly pleasuring himself in front of the television thanks to Jose Mourinho's dour tactics and 2-2 draw at Old Trafford. This is the Arsenal Vision post-match podcast. My name is Elliot Smith, and you can block me on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. That was something. We were bad. They were worse. Andre Mariner was even worse than that. And just sort of the snide, sniveling, dirty, cuntish tactics you'd expect from Jose Mourinho. Not a lot of quality in the game, which I'm sure just made him happy. And somewhere Tony Pulis had his pants around his ankles and was smiling ear to ear. Paul's here. You can find him on Twitter at PositiveMyPants. Hello, Paul.
Woohoo!
And Scott is on Twitter at O_that_crab. Hello, Scott.
Woohoo!
Tim, what? Really? All right. We'll do that. That's fine. Tim is at Old Trafford. Sorry, Tim. And Clive is sleeping. Clive was tired, a little tired, had also been to a holiday party, and there may have been some alcohol consumed, but that's totally cool. We support that, this podcast. In fact, we may or may not be doing that as we speak. In any event, let's get into the game. And Scott, I'll start with you just for a second. Super quick. We're not going to do a really statsy thing this podcast. We're going to talk qualitatively much more than quantitatively so that we are free to have terrible opinions. But just as far as the XG, I know it was 2-2 on the score sheet. What was it on the underlying score sheet?
Real quick. Yeah. Sorry. When
Thanks.
you multitask, you totally forget what your call sign is.
Yep.
So I had that one at 1.8 to 1.28. So Arsenal, did out XG them, but did give up two really good chances, which, were errors. And, you really can't do that against a mid-table team like that. They'll make you hurt.
Yeah, it's the mid-table sides where you just, as long as you don't gift them chances, they can't hurt you. And we did, and they did. And that's really what happened. So, Paul, a couple of things. We started with the back three, and I'm not convinced it was the right call for this match. I mean, the reality is that Manchester United give you so much room in the final third and in midfield. They really are passive in that area, but we really struggled to build from the back. I mean, what were some of the things you caused that? I mean, Xhaka's absence certainly among them, but do you just think maybe there was a little bit of anxiousness in the squad when we kicked off?
So I agree that three at the back seems a little passive going into this game. On the other hand, I still thought that Mourinho was going to keep it compact. He knew we would probably come down the wings at him. And so if we were going to get any action, any creativity into the centre for Aubameyang, it was going to come down the wings. And so three at the back just allows you to push your wing backs or what would have been fullbacks more confidently further up the pitch and really get them in behind. So I think it was kind of an aggressive move, the way we played it. I mean, nothing worked particularly well this game, but I guess I can see why three at the back, although it can give you three guys mark and one striker, it allowed us to confidently push up and have Torreira and Guendouzi, who can be challenged as a pairing, find their way in this game. So gave them a platform and allowed the fullbacks to push on. So I guess I was okay with it.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I guess I just didn't see that happening. Like, it seemed like we were playing the ball very deep a lot and really struggling to progress it into their half. And on the occasions where we were able to get into their half and have any kind of possession where we strung two or three passes together, we easily cut them apart. They were getting killed down our left, their right. I don't know what a Dalot is or a Dalot, but it is not a good professional football player. And we took advantage of him and his side. And Kolasinac, who was maybe not a defender himself, certainly did have a lot of joy. But then we were also short the second runner in the box. And I thought we got into a lot of good positions to cut the ball back and pull the ball back. But it was really just Aubameyang, and he looked a lot more isolated. I wonder, Scott, if Emery had known the lineup that Mourinho was going to pick, if maybe he would have gone to three in midfield instead and played a back four, because it was such an odd United team. No Pogba, no Lukaku, a very makeshift defense. And, it seemed pretty clear that they were going to try to keep us pinned in our half, but that they had no intention of contesting midfield. I mean, were you surprised at all by the way Jose lined up, and would you have wanted Emery to do something different in light of that lineup?
I didn't think it was a bad lineup. It was actually pretty similar to what I expected, although I did call, Mkhitaryan for Ramsey to start. But pretty much it was what I expected, and I thought that the team probably performed about as well as could be expected. I was actually a little bit impressed with how much pressing Manchester United were able to do, and I think that did cause problems, especially with Guendouzi. I thought that he had a little bit of trouble dealing with the pressure that Manchester United were putting on him early, and that was about the extent of the midfield contesting that they were doing. They really seemed to focus on Guendouzi to see if they could, rattle him a bit in this big situation. But I thought that he actually grew into the game. I don't really have any complaints about the way things, lined up. And then, he got the injuries to force him to make changes, which I'm not sure he was 100% going to be planning on doing. So I don't have any complaints about the way they lined up.
Yeah.
It seemed, Elliot, to your point, that we basically attacked down the left and Kolasinac got in a lot. And the player we were looking to provide the overload on that side ended up actually being our right wing. We kind of sacrificed the right. And Ramsey came in, so Bellerin was pretty quiet. So I think that's where you got your extra midfielder from. It didn't work exactly brilliantly, but it kind of worked, and we did have that period of pressure leading into Mustafi's goal. So I can kind of see what the strategy was to get in behind, to get wide, and it was kind of working. Execution kind of sucked. I mean, Kolasinac probably had what? I don't know if Scott has access to that, but I would guess 8 or 9 situations. Maybe there weren't 8 or 9 crosses, but 8 or 9 situations where some of them he was hesitant on. Some of them he got put in a blocked cross. Some of them he put in a half decent cross. That seemed to be our go-to stratagem for shaking them up in the box.
Yeah, he put in. It only says 1 of 3 crosses, which seems crazy to me. But it is what it is.
I guess if they're blocked or if we saw him a couple of times stop and really hesitate and slow the play down. So
yeah, well, he did complete 6 of 9 passes inside the penalty area, so that's obviously quite a lot. I think the issue also is maybe where we saw the shortcoming of the strategy was with Iwobi, who I thought had a very off night and also dropped a lot deeper. And so he dropped into the zones where Guendouzi was playing. He wasn't necessarily then available to link up with Kola a lot and not really arriving in the box. And when he did, he didn't make the most of it overall. That may have been the big issue that short-circuited the attack. I mean, Scott, is that fair to say that given how much attacking we did down there left, Iwobi's off night was maybe partially responsible for us not having as much success as we could have?
Yeah, and I think that when Iwobi came off, I thought you saw a little bit better from Kolasinac. I think that when Aubameyang actually moved over there, they seemed to really focus better. And then I think that Guendouzi actually combined really well with Kolasinac at the end. Looking at the actual pass map, I would say that there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 crosses that Kolasinac made, like total. That's what I would consider more the crosses.
Let's put it this way: this says he completed 6 passes in the penalty area and 1 cross. So to your point, if you want to count all of those wide inside the penalty area passes as crosses, then it would be 7. Yep.
Yeah, so, it was
I think he got in. There were the runs he made that he didn't do anything with. Passed out or stood on the ball or got tackled before he did anything. But as a stratagem for getting in behind, that was the one thing that worked.
Exactly. No, there was space there, and I think Kolasinac really did well. This really did kind of show that I thought that he is a very impressive final third player. I thought that he was probably, when we looked dangerous, it was usually with him involved. So I thought that he had a pretty good game going forward. Going, backwards, not so much, and it's probably something to forget about.
Yeah, I mean,
final ball a bit off.
He completed 72% of his passes. That's not good, especially away where you want to be safe with the ball. But you look at his attacking third passes, 9 of 15. So that's where your attack is short-circuiting, I think, when you look at it. And Matteo Guendouzi, I mean, Paul, He started poorly. He was really shaky. Now, I think he deserves a lot of credit. He finished at 88% passing. I thought he grew into the game. He had a lot of confidence. He took on his man a lot late. And I think one of the stories of this game is the referee, and we should probably come to it now, because what was really happening is Guendouzi would take a touch and try to get past his man. He'd get fouled. The foul wouldn't be given. There were a lot of niggling fouls that Mariner didn't give. And by the time he started showing the card, he had sort of lost control of the game. So do you think another story that sort of set the tone for the game was certainly Guendouzi maybe struggling early, but Mariner not really having control of the tactical rotational fouling that United were doing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Matic was awarded man of the match. What the fuck? But if that's a recognition of a guy who's mastered the command of rotational fouling of him and his colleagues, then so be it. I thought Guendouzi, he didn't get his fouls early on, but then he started getting all his fouls from there on in, right in the tackle. So as the game went on, I think he warmed up, and maybe his ability to create some separation from the other midfielders warmed up. So he started getting his fouls. But yeah, definitely Mariner. You had this. There was a spate of cards in a row, which is not necessarily a good sign. There was that Rojo challenge. Man, that's got to have been close to a red card, but you're never going to get that at Old Trafford.
And close to an ankle breaker too.
Yeah. I mean, Guendouzi knows how to play a foul, but he was well in there on both legs, absolutely out of control. So very.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the one that was a red, I think, and the Huddersfield match over the weekend. It's very similar to that, late and high and dangerous, really putting the opponent in danger.
I think the problem was we'd just given away a yellow card in a similar but lesser manner, and I think Mariner kind of thought if he went beyond that, he'd have the whole crowd down on him. But
yeah.
Jesus.
Look, I thought Mariner's lack of early calls set the tone and really disrupted us being able to build the play. And so United used that rotational fouling to disrupt our buildup, and Mariner didn't punish them for it. And, I think it also made us a little nervy because, look, when you get fouled and taken off the ball and the ref doesn't call it and then it's headed the other way, you start to get a little more conservative and a little more careful. And so, we missed Xhaka there, obviously, for his line-breaking passes. I thought that in general, we were just a little sloppier than we needed to be. But I do think Mateo grew into it, and we can come to that a little later on, that I thought towards the second half he really started to step up and be a leader. In fact, I think he completed 25 of 28 passes in the attacking third, and a lot of that was in the second half. He and Torreira were given a lot of responsibility for volume passing without Xhaka there, without Ozil there, and I think overall they did okay. But, then we run into the injury situation, and Scott... I thought that when Holding went down, we should have switched to a back four. Now, I don't necessarily know who we would have brought in. I mean, I guess it would have been Mkhitaryan at that point. But I just felt that we needed the extra man in midfield, because the thing that's so amazing to me about United, we talked about this so much leading up to the game, and it proved true. You get the ball 30, 35 yards from their goal, and they just give you all the room you want. There were numerous situations where Kolasinac or Lichtsteiner, for example, would pick up the ball in our half and carry it all the way into the attacking third with nobody contesting them. And I felt if we just had that extra person in midfield, maybe we could have combined a little more and found more room for Aubameyang to try to make some darting runs in behind the defenders. We didn't do that. I mean, maybe before we get into the loss of Holding, do you think that maybe that was an opportunity for the manager to make a tactical switch there?
Yeah, I think that probably would have been a pretty good one, because, it's a tough one because you probably sent out and trained them on that, the system. But we've played the back four enough that I don't think it would have been a tough move to make. We had Ramsey on the pitch, not injured yet, so Ramsey could have easily dropped into the third midfield role, or even as a 10, gone the 4-2-3-1 with Mkhitaryan coming on. Because I think you're right. I think that we needed that extra body there. They weren't really doing a ton of attacking. Lichtsteiner isn't a natural center back, so it's not like you're even doing a like-for-like sub there. So I think that probably, if any of the subs you're going to really criticize, that's probably the one to make. But I guess it's a safe sub to make.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Paul, for you, is that do you agree with that assessment? Would you like to have seen him do something different there?
So I would have been okay with maintaining the formation, except actually, what pushes me over the side to your argument is he's then bringing in Lichtsteiner, who I've actually been itching to see as a centre back. So you got a new player in there. You got to push Mustafi over to centre back and Socrates over the left. So you've actually gone and forced three players to be playing out of position or half out of position. I know Mustafi and Socrates have played those positions before, but it's in the middle of a match. As we've said, they've trained in a particular way, and you've now thrown all the pieces up in the air, and Socrates is the best man for this through the centre. That's when we look most effective with the three at the back. So given the domino effect there, I think that would push me towards saying, all right, let's go more naturally to two centre backs and two full backs.
Yeah, I mean, Scott, do you think the holding loss is like full crisis time for us, or maybe just minor crisis? Like, where do you place this in the injury crisis pantheon?
Well, not great, seeing especially as it's December and, there's going to be like 6 matches like coming up in like the next 2 weeks. So that's not great. I guess the only kind of silver lining is it looks like, Koscielny is starting to come back a little bit, although, that's a tough injury to come back from. So it might just be, Socrates and Mustafi for a while. It's going to be tough. I hope it looks bad. It's never good to see somebody stretchered off. And that definitely looks like it could be a knee injury because it was a non-contact one. And those ones, that could be ligaments and all sorts of bad stuff.
Yeah, I think you worry about like medial ligaments and stuff like that could cost him at least the rest of the season. But now it looks like it's Socrates and Mustafi as the starting center back pairing. But if back three is the regular formation and not just going to be used for big games or certain opposition, then is Lichtsteiner the one who comes in with Nacho Monreal back? Do we use him at center back and Kolasinac stays at wing back? Koscielny is nearing a return, but it's sort of unclear. Now, I saw some people tweeting out that he hurt himself in the under-21 game that was played the other night, but the official account tweeted out an update that said he was fine. There was no injury. So
he had a cramp.
Yeah, we'll see. So, I mean, Paul, for you, how gutted are you for Holding, who was making tremendous progress in his development towards being a long-term solution at the position for us, and how do you think we should get by without him going forward?
It's very disappointing. He's right on that trajectory you wanted him to be on. So to take a step back from here, maybe we'll find out it's not that bad. But if the old air padding, putting it in a brace, maybe they were being cautious, but it's kind of depressing to see the lad going off like that. Obviously, we got Nacho. And if we want to play with three at the back, then yes, we can play Kolasinac ahead of him, and we've seen that lineup. I do think Lichtsteiner has some good right centre backing in him in a back three, but that's probably a learning curve too far for us right now. So it's going to... I don't know how wedded we were to the three at the back option as our standard go-to. It's working well at the moment, but historically it hasn't been Emery's way to go. So it may have just been a way of shoring up our defence so that we're more reliable. And, maybe he learned from this particular game that it wasn't actually the three at the back or the two at the back that's making the issues for our defence, because that was bloody ugly defensively.
Yeah, it's really disappointing to see the way we conceded both goals, and we'll come to those in a minute. But Scott, when the halftime whistle comes, I almost couldn't believe a half of football had been played, because between players being on the ground and injuries and fouls, there was just no fluency to it at all. I am not someone who just comes out and backs Arsenal in every situation and says Arsenal's the best and everybody else sucks. This. I'm not really a Pollyanna, but I just think United killed this game. I think their approach, their fouls, their tactics, their lineup, I think everything about the way United approached this game just killed it. I don't think they had any interest in playing football. They wanted to make it as ugly as possible. As far as opponents we've faced in the Premier League this season, I thought they were down there with some of the worst, especially in the first half. What did you think of the way they approached the game and sort of the level of quality they brought to the encounter?
Yeah, and it really did seem that it wasn't until they went down both times that they really showed any sort of, attacking mentality. And that's almost been their MO all year. They don't really attack until they're down, and it's kind of weird. Especially with, you look at the badge and you think Manchester United attack, and that was definitely not the case in this game. Just tons of fouling, not letting Arsenal play, not even looking to play themselves. It definitely reminded me of playing a mid-table team. I know it is, kind of what Jose Mourinho does, but it's just so weird to see from that team that you're not used to.
Yeah, and again, I mean, look, I get it. They were in the game and they were contesting the game aggressively, but they weren't doing it with any quality. They weren't passing their way through us. They weren't causing us a lot of problems in build-up. They were doing a lot of long ball off dead balls. They were doing a lot of, just channel runs and balls up the pitch. But I never felt that they had any impetus to take the game to us, other than to break up our play and foul aggressively. And it was only really Andre Mariner, in my opinion, that kind of gave them the out to be able to do that. Because I think if he had started showing cards a little bit earlier, and if he had seen one or two more of those fouls, they would not have been able to continue with that, which might have changed the pattern of play. So Aaron Ramsey...
This game had Fellaini for the winner on the 93rd minute from an Andre Mariner awarded free kick written all over it. So there's one topic to be very pleased about. It didn't follow the almost looming portented heartbreaking defeat we've seen so often in these scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that, obviously, but it's frustrating to see a big game, especially the first half, really peter out like that, and it did. I mean, there were just no incidents where there was any real quality of play. I mean, maybe a few opportunities here or there where we nearly got it done and then just missed the opportunity, and yet
I think just real quick on that. So even at the last 5 minutes of the first half, Aaron Ramsey was injured and could barely move, and so basically Arsenal were playing with 10 men. And Manchester United still did not even think about doing any sort of attacking. It's just like...
We played without holding for 5 minutes, and they did nothing. We were down a man and down a defender, and they did nothing at home to press the issue, which is why it's so insane that it was 1-1 at halftime, that there had been 2 goals scored. And the reason it feels insane is because they were off nothing moments. So the first is the Mustafi goal. And Scott, I mean, that's just a De Gea howler. I mean, if I had to give you odds on an incident that would lead to us getting points at Old Trafford, how long of odds would I have needed for De Gea howler to be up there as one of the options?
That would probably be one of the longest odds that I could give you. I mean, you looked at his quality later on the Aubameyang save that he made, and that one was really good. But then I have no idea what was going through his mind when he just dropped that ball. And then was it Damian there that was, or was it Herrera that was there?
Herrera.
On the line? And he was just like, what was he doing? I think he was
just had a nice view of it. He was just observing.
Like, what is going on there? And he just took him like an extra beat and, allowed it to go over the line.
I thought it was a decent header from Mustafi, to be fair. I mean, maybe down a little more than it needed to be, but, credit to him. He got free and got the header on it. But, I mean, Jesus, that is a howler.
The captain's armband.
Exactly, yeah. It's, right at him, too. That's right at De Gea. It's not like it was down into the corner at all. Basically, he didn't even have to move.
Yeah, and it was a free header. So I mean, Paul, then we get our neck in front, we get our nose in front, a lot of our body in front, and against a team that's shown very, very little, and you think, just consolidate for a few minutes, and they're going to be in real trouble because they haven't been troubling us. They haven't really been difficult to deal with, and if they start to have to come out at us, maybe we'll start to have those areas to play into a little more where we can get into the attacking third and cause them problems, and yet we weren't able to do that. And I look, I think it is just one of these things. A lack of professionalism is a bad way to say it, but it feels that way. What was the goal we just conceded on the stroke of halftime the other day? A counterattacking goal that was just totally needless. Was it? Who was it? Was it? Come on, guys. We just conceded a totally needless counterattacking goal on the stroke of halftime the other day. Was it against Bournemouth? Who was it against? It was against Bournemouth. Yeah. And if you remember, it was like the 46th minute or whatever, and it's just a total lack of concentration. We just thought the whistle was going to go. I felt that this was really poor, and of all the people you're going to pick on, I think I'm probably going to pick on Iwobi because his reactions are so slow. to get to a ball that he should have gotten to. I mean, what do you make of that, Paul? I mean, who do you think is most at fault there?
I don't know. I mean, the ball passes through the middle of our defense when it's Herrera who goes out right, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good save, by the way. We should mention that. It's a really good save down to his left.
I thought it was a great save. I was totally happy with what he did until that ball came back in. He pushed it right out past the post, nicely along the line. We should have closed that sucker down. We're just very poor off both ends of that wall. There was the free kick in the last game against Spurs down Torreira's side of the wall, where they got us on the near side, and off this one they break off the right side of the wall, and again we don't close it down. We don't block the shot in. It goes past three guys in. Just incredibly frustrating. Not as bad as the second goal, but just it's like fucking hell. You get a goal, you go up, just hold on, guys. I mean, we didn't need to give away the free kick to set it up. It's just, we're seeing these errors go. Our stats for defense have increased and improved as we've gone on the last few games. We're conceding less chances, but the goals we let in are just rubbish.
Yeah, it was really bad. I think, to me, there's a passivity about the way we defended those situations. And, it's unfortunate because, again, I really felt that if we could have consolidated there for just a few moments, that I don't know that United would have been able to trouble us. Scott, you had something to add there?
Yeah, so I think, so Iwobi on that free kick, he was the one that was supposed to be blocking for when they jumped.
The low, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but, he didn't look like he knew exactly what he was doing. And then the other thing that was weird is that the rest of the people, when they were setting the line, seemed to forget that Iwobi counted as part of that line to play people onside. I do think that Herrera was offside, very, very, very close either way. But, I mean, if they had, kind of remembered, oh, yeah, Iwobi's there, we need to, drop back and be even with him and then actually run when the ball is kicked, it probably would have been a little bit better and more people in line there. It was just an all-around weird thing where, we had 3 or 4 people all switch off at the same time.
I mean, he's definitely offside in my opinion. But, again, just because it's a missed call doesn't mean you don't have to defend the situation that ensues. And, that ball that's put back goes through like 3 Arsenal players. And I don't know what Iwobi's doing because he kind of pauses. He stops. If he just keeps running, he cuts out that cross and Martial doesn't score. So just really disappointing.
And they've got 2 players that are largely unmarked in the 6-yard box. Now, what you would say is it's not totally shocking that after the Spurs game, our energy levels and our sharpness are a bit off.
I thought that was the story of the match, yeah. I thought we were a step slower the whole game. But in that situation, yeah, I still think it's just fundamentals, right? I mean, you just stay focused and switched on. It's not like he needed to do a 50-yard recovery sprint there. No. So, yeah, it was disappointing. I mean, I think even still, after that, we looked like we got ourselves back on top. We just weren't able to create the opening to get the lead before halftime, and then Ramsey gets injured and comes off. Again, really unfortunate. But in this case, I thought the move that the manager made was right. I think bringing on Mkhitaryan made a lot of sense. I mean, do you think that was the right switch, Scott?
Yeah, I do think so. And then I think Mkhitaryan actually looked pretty good in this game. He's had some up and down moments this season, but I think this was probably one that there was a lot more ups than downs to. He really did seem to hold on to the ball a lot better in this match, which was something that has always been frustrating. He seemed to not have some of those really kind of dumb loose passes that he had done too many times before. Let's see, looking at it, he only only had one bad ball touch here, it looks like. So that's not bad. And I don't know if he was dispossessed at all either. He was dispossessed 0 times. So didn't give the ball away at all, which was really good from him. I thought that his attacking play actually looked pretty good. Let's see what his overall numbers here. And let's see, I had him as a 0.02 on the offensive value added, especially coming on, at halftime. That's a really solid number to do. So I thought that it was actually probably one of his better performances.
Yeah, he was obviously key on the goal.
Yep.
For Lacazette.
Yep. No, I thought that counterattack was really well worked. And it's funny because I think we've had too many counterattacks and did on the day too many counterattacks that were just too imprecise. I mean, maybe that's the thing that frustrated me the most. You know what? We had a number of situations where we could attacked them in transition or we had space and a pass was just under hit or was, an easy pass was missed. There was one, I don't know if you guys remember, it might have been second half, where Lacazette and Aubameyang were kind of in the left half space, left touch line, and Lacazette just passes it in the touch, and they're kind of not on the same wavelength. There were a lot of little moments like that where it wasn't that we were getting line-breaking, defense-splitting final third passes wrong. We were just getting some very basic passes wrong. And I thought the stretches where we passed well, we cut them open pretty easily and created good situations. You're not going to believe I'm going to say this. I also think this is a game where if we had someone like a Welbeck or even a Giroud, we probably win. Because there were a lot of situations where Guendouzi or Mkhitaryan or Bellerin or Kolasinac was on the wing and, just at the top of the box with tons of space to deliver a cross, a curling and swinging kind of cross. And Aubameyang is not the target for that. And he wasn't making himself available for those kinds of crosses. So, a lot of times what we would do is then go back. I can't count how many times Guendouzi, for example, had the ball in the left half space, just in the edge of the final third, looked up, didn't see a player to deliver it to in the box, and wound up going back to Torreira, back to the defense. And that pattern repeated itself a lot. Let's do this. Let's take a break to hear about something far sexier than the game. Some lingerie, in fact. And then we'll come back. We'll talk about the final substitutions, the final 2 goals, and the result in the context of our season. So stay with us. We'll be back with more right after this. Okay, it's time to tell you about our friends at enclosedlingerie.com. That's enclosed, ENCLOSED, lingerie, LINGERIE, enclosedlingerie.com. You're going to want to go there right now because they are offering you $35 off any gift of lingerie from their site using checkout code ARSENAL. Enclosed Lingerie is a lingerie of the month gift, similar to beer of the month or flower of the month, but every month you are going to receive high-end luxury lingerie for your partner. This is something that you got to do. It enhances the intimacy and the closeness in your relationship. That doesn't happen on its own. It takes time, it takes energy and effort, and this shows real thoughtfulness. Plus, you don't have to wander around a department store sheepishly. You're getting something with a perfect fit guarantee, so size will never be an issue, and you're going to love giving this gift to your partner. I'm married, I have a toddler, I have a great relationship with my wife, but I have to admit that keeping that closeness is something you have to really focus on, especially as time goes by and your family grows. So this is something you should absolutely do for your loved one. Go to enclosedlingerie.com, enter Arsenal at checkout. You'll get $35 off any enclosed gift, and you're giving something that shows real thoughtfulness, that's unique, that's just for you and your partner. Go there now, enclosedlingerie.com, and enter Arsenal at checkout for $35 off your gift. Do it now. Okay, we're back, and Scott and Paul are still here, which is great because it would have been a terrible podcast if they had left and it was just me bitching and moaning about all the things I usually bitch and moan about. But there are still things left to complain about this match. And by the way, we'll give some credit where it's due. I think some credit is due. But Paul, Lacazette came on. I thought he had a pretty good performance. Ultimately, he is instrumental in the goal that gets our nose in front again. It's not his goal technically, but I think he and Mkhitaryan worked that really well. And it starts just with a bad giveaway under very, very little pressure. Takes the ball, gives it to Mkhitaryan. They exchange ball 1-2 on the edge of the area, and he's in. How impressed were you with his cameo and with that goal?
Look, I thought it was pretty good. The only thing I didn't like about the Lacazette cameo was it reminded me of why I'm not super crazy about Aubameyang on the wing. I thought Aubameyang did okay. He worked very hard. He went both ways. He had that great opportunity, the Henry curler in the second half after Lacazette came on. I thought Lacazette did very well.
He also had the one really well saved by De Gea, by the way, with his left leg where he ran across the box. It was the one really good whipped cross that got in, and he was right on it. And some people call that a miss. I mean, you have that down as a miss, or you have it as a De Gea save?
It's a great. I mean, his form, whatever the technical term is, to have his leg there.
It's a hockey save. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think Aubameyang did anything wrong. In fact, if you just look at Aubameyang's part of it, you say, "Oh, beautifully." Oh, fuck. Yep. So. But I thought Lacazette did really well, and what I also liked about it was from the time Lacazette came on, there was no comparison between the two teams. Where United may have been shit for 90 minutes. We didn't show separation of performance for much of the first half, or even to some degree for the second half. I mean, we were the better team and maybe we deserved to go ahead and all that. But if you were to look at the two teams from the time Lacazette came on, we just outplayed them. And we actually started to look like we'd found our energy. We were half a step quicker. You saw Mkhitaryan, Lacazette, and Aubameyang actually pressing, which we hadn't done with our front line. You know, Ramsey did a lot of running in the first half, but it wasn't part of any coordinated press across the front line. It was just basically closing down a bit of space. From when Lacazette came on, we decided we were going for the game, and we weren't going to be able to do that at Old Trafford for 90 minutes or 45 minutes, but we were going to do it for about 25 minutes. And, you know, the Lacazette chance comes from Mkhitaryan pressing their centre-back on their left-hand side, forcing the turnover, and then we got the three guys sprinting through. It was kind of a little bit more Spurs-like. I also think Lacazette gets the credit for that. Maybe he didn't officially, but every time I've watched that replay, he takes the swing and then the defender kicks it off his foot, but it hits his foot on the follow-through. Maybe I'm wrong, but it still looks like he should get credit on that one. I hope he does.
Well, I mean, they haven't credited him with that goal officially, but I mean, okay. You know, he does everything right. I mean, you could maybe argue that he takes just an extra step to get it into the position for the shot there, and that if he can release it quicker, none of that happens. What I thought it should have been is a goal, a penalty, and a red card would have been the ideal call there, and you know, just another blown call by Mariner there. But Scott, you know, I mean, so again, we're in front 2-1, and their reply comes right from the kickoff, and it is a straight ball right up the pitch. I believe it kind of bounces off Lukaku a little. It's no danger. Kolasinac takes a heavy touch. Fine, you took a heavy touch in your box. You're still favored to get to it. To be fair, Leno takes a step towards it, but for me, Kolasinac has put himself and his keeper in it there. He's got to take command of the situation and just hammer it clear. And it wasn't the first situation like that where the defenders didn't really take command of situations. There was one where Mustafi and Lichtsteiner got kind of caught up, and I think Mustafi called him off and then didn't play the ball. I mean, for you, is the goal on Kola, or do you have some criticism for Leno in that situation?
No, I think that's got to be on Kolasinac. I mean, you can't expect that your guy's going to not clear a ball there. You know, he's got to see that danger and just, you know, say, well, I'm going to go kick this one out. Just get it out. I mean, there's no danger. There's no problem there. You know, I mean, just get it out. That's really all you got to do there. That's the first goal as a defender, is to clear the lines. You know, if you can keep the ball, that's, you know, a bonus at that point. You'd already made the mistake with the heavy touch, and so I think you just need to play it safe. So I think that one's on Kolasinac, just switching off. And, you know, that was kind of a weird one because on TV, you know, they were still showing replays of the goal and what happened. And it was like instantly, as soon as they cut back to that, it's like, wait, United scored? Like, how did that happen? It was,
and it had to be that Millie rocking motherfucker Jesse Lingard too. Anybody but him. I mean, Christ.
Exactly. He hasn't scored in like a year, and of course he does it against us. And
and it's just an error, and that's the thing. I mean, you know, as much as I love Emery and the work he's doing, you know, we were a team that committed the most errors. I think it was last season that led to goals, and maybe the season before as well. And it's errors that cost us in this game, and it's just hard to see those kind of mistakes being made in big games, because even as bad as United were, the margins are really that fine. Now, I thought after that, the game broke down a little bit, and it got a little bit weird, Paul, because we were clearly shattered. I mean, the players were out on their feet. It looked like, you know, Torreira was doing his best, but he was down on the ground a lot, you know, just looking uncomfortable and exhausted. I thought Guendouzi...
This was his weakest game, and I say this with all love for the guy and sympathy for him, because he's probably fucking shattered, but he was way off his own levels in this game, I thought, Torreira.
Yeah, I mean, I have sympathy for him because I don't know, you know, in the first half, I don't know that his partner was having such a great game, Guendouzi, and so he didn't necessarily have the right balance there. I thought Guendouzi grew into the game in the second half, and then I thought Torreira really faded just energy level-wise. But, I mean, for you, is the story of the last quarter of the game just not quite having the energy and the running in our legs to get ourselves ahead again?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, if I'm going to take a positive slant, at least we finished the game strong. At least we were the team that looked like we should have won. We were pushing forward. We had personality.
Mkhitaryan's chance was real good.
Oh, yeah. I agree with Scott. I think Mkhitaryan had one of his better games. I do actually think he was kind of a bit careless when he first came on. Took him a few minutes to forget who he really was and start making his passes. But the first few minutes he misplaced a few, I thought. But then he came into it, and the style, our front three began to, when we were pressing, it made sense with Aubameyang there. But in general play, it's not the best use of Pierre, I'm afraid. But yeah, I think we had a good 20 minutes towards the end of the game, and I anticipated the last 5 minutes would be them getting free kicks around our box and just waiting for that aerial from Lukaku or Martial, or not Fellaini bundled over the line. So for me, the story of the final quarter was actually, yeah, I agree with you. A little, if we were a little more rested, a little more sharp, our execution might have taken us over the line, but we did everything but, I think, that we could do at that stage. That would not be the section of the game where I would fault us.
I think execution is the right word, because, I mean, you look at it, I mean, Aubameyang, who didn't have his finest game, had the curler well saved, had the cutback. The cutback that was well saved. He had a situation where he was running the left half space, and Kolasinac, he had acres of space to run into. I don't know if you guys remember this. And Kolasinac, all he had to do was play the ball into the space in front of him, and he underhit it. And so Aubameyang didn't get the chance to break free. There were a lot of plays like that where he had some room to run into, and the ball just wasn't hit with the right pace. So, I thought that was a little bit unfortunate as well. Overall, I thought we finished the better side. But what was interesting, Scott, the game got a little scary towards the end just because we would attack them well, but then not seemingly have the energy to get back defensively. And so the game got stretched for a little bit there. I mean, do you think that, Emery's desire to push for a winner there, understandably, maybe made it a little nervier down the stretches than it needed to be?
Oh, yeah, it definitely looked like, a match we've seen so many times where Arsenal are pushing everybody forward, and then, they're going to get caught on the counter. I was very, very worried about that a couple of times. I think there was some 3-on-3 situations where, our defenders did just enough to stop dangerous situations before they could turn into a goal. I mean, you could definitely see that one team was pushing forward and one team was, more content for the point. And it definitely, Arsenal were definitely going for the full win. So, yeah, it was tough. You could definitely see probably about that 60-minute mark where Arsenal just started to run out of gas. Then Lacazette came on, Arsenal looked better, but then about 80 minutes, the game was just, nobody had any energy left. These midweek games after a weekend are so tough on these teams.
I think we made our life harder playing the back three. So let me just explain real quick. I think when we play in the back three, it is a much more intense pressing from the front, almost Spursy kind of approach. You know what I mean? Like, the way you want to get goals there is to disrupt them, to break up the opposition's build-up. We press Spurs intensely and created chances in transition. You're not going to be able to have long, sustained stretches of possession without that extra midfielder. You're not going to camp out in the attacking third and prod and poke and try to play in behind their back four, back five. And I think Manchester United are so poor defensively that if you can just get a little bit of possession in midfield and take up, some residence in their attacking third, you're going to be able to see the cracks in that defense and create some chances. But we played a style that I think demands high energy, and we didn't have the energy. I mean, you look at Aubameyang, he led us in tackles against Spurs. He was not a pressing agent in this game. He really did not have any ability to do that. And so, again, I just feel that if we had the extra man to control the midfield, if we had a little bit extra control of the possession, because we really struggled to string long periods of possession together, that's when I think United lose interest, they drop off, they become passive, and you can pick those holes. So I don't know about...
I wonder, though, Elliot, if the manager's thinking was to have a first and second half just like he did against Spurs, but without the pressing in the first half because it's Old Trafford away, then have your two strikers in the second half when Manchester United, at least in theory, are required to be more aggressive towards the end of the game. And there we have our perfect setup to do to them what we did to Spurs in the second half. But with the injuries and the 4 substitutions, maybe he didn't have enough plan B's and C's there. But yeah, I do wonder if he was licking his chops at getting Aubameyang and Lacazette together through the middle in the second half.
It may just be that he understands that this approach was not going to allow us to create the volume of chances we might have liked, but he may feel that we are defensively weak and that, our XG allowed has been much better in the back three. Maybe he just felt that he wants to prioritize our defense and that we have enough talented attackers that, if we can shore up the defense a little, he trusts it to work itself out at the other end of the pitch. I mean, we did score twice today, by hook or by crook. So I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, the only thing that I really felt, though, Scott, and this is kind of unpopular. I mean, right now, Mesut Ozil is such a toxic issue on both sides of the ledger that I feel like bringing him up charges the conversation so much in such a polarizing way. But
you're determined to do it.
That I have to do it. Well, but I'm going to bring it up in a non-polarizing way, or in a way that I think is more forgiving of him. I mean, I really thought we missed him. I think, Mesut Ozil, one of the things he was so good at, like when we had Alexis Sanchez, is popping up in the half space outside the box and just dropping dimes onto people's feet and head in the box, those in-swingers. He's so good at that. Not just picking the through ball in behind the defense. But I thought today we lacked that little spark of creativity and sharpness. I thought Ramsey really did not have a very good game, especially on the ball. Iwobi was very off, as we discussed. And while I thought Mkhitaryan was good and very good for our second goal, he is a little bit imprecise with his final third passing. I mean, he did have that sensational offside finish, which is a shame because when it went in, I thought that was the one for about a half second. But so for you, I mean, is this a game where, amazing as it may sound, our highest ever paid player might have been a value?
Yeah, and I think that you saw the way that United defended, where they were giving Arsenal lots of space in that 35-yard out zone. And I think that's a spot that Mesut Ozil earns his money in. He is so good at, if you give him time and space in that area, he is going to pick the right pass. And he would have, I think, been able to do something like that in this game. And I think that would have been a really nice thing to be able to bring on. So I do think that he was missed in this game. I know earlier we were talking about the sustained possession, and I think that there was a spot in the first half where you could really see when Arsenal, before they got tired, they were able to put together like a string of probably a good 10, 15 passes where they were kind of going slow. They built up to the final third, went back to the goalkeeper, and then they slowly went through, and then all of a sudden they changed gears really fast. They found Kolasinac in that half space, and it was another dangerous spot. And it's like, that is exactly what Manchester United are so bad at. And I think if Arsenal would have been fresh, they would have really torn them apart, being able to do that with their, being able to hold on to the ball a little bit more.
I agree. Just a little slow to our spots, a little off with our passing, a little slower on the response in the trigger. And to Jose's credit, not to his credit, I'm not going to give him any credit, but just as a point, I mean, he made a lot of changes and played a very different side in this game, but that also means that, they had a lower intensity game at the weekend and changed quite a bit more than we did from our very high intensity game on Sunday. So, they may have had a little more freshness as well. Paul, I don't understand how Fellaini gets away with this shit all the time, constantly. What the fuck is going on with that guy? He's insane.
They're just fucking... It's some conspiracy to torture us, the fucking shit they put on. Andre Mariner, fucking Fellaini, Matic man of the match. They're just fucking with us. I mean... shit.
He pulled Guendouzi down by his hair. If ever there was a guy who should understand the sanctity of the hair. Fuck. I mean, what is that?
That's a red card.
Is it though? I mean, is that a red card?
But Jesus.
Isn't that violent conduct? I mean, Scott, let me let you in here just real quick.
You can't pull somebody by the hair.
That's got to be a red card, isn't it?
I don't know exactly what they call violent conduct in England, but to me that's a pretty bad thing. I think you'd get charged with assault for something like that in America here.
Yeah, I mean it's not a football act. You know what I mean? Like what I'm saying is if you kind of pull somebody back by the shoulder or you slide in for a challenge, that's a football act. Pulling someone's hair is just violent conduct. Yeah. I don't understand how he gets away with it. I'm so thankful he didn't have any real influence on the game because that was my big worry. I mean, Paul, actually, we were kind of impressed with how we handled the balls into the box late in the game when they had Lukaku and Fellaini on.
Yeah, it might have been the one area where, I expected United to be strong and they were poor. I thought they'd do some shithousery to earn some free kicks upfield or some Jose Mourinho, Drogba throwing himself on the ground. But I guess Lukaku wasn't quite up to the Drogba effects. They didn't generate those free kick opportunities in and around the box. They didn't get those opportunities, but some of that was our initiative. I think maybe the strength, the personality we showed, and you saw Emery on the sidelines urging us on. I think we really did continue. We may not have been great, particularly in terms of final execution, and they may not have been wonderful. But I think the personality showed, the mentality meant we didn't give them those opportunities in our half to do the shithousery to create the free kicks. And for that, I'm most grateful. And, I did end up this match thinking if you can't win it, don't lose it. I never expected us to get more than a win at Spurs and a draw at United. I think we had that chat at one stage a few pods back. So I got to remind myself that 4 points from those two fixtures. Chelsea lost today. Thank you very much. So we're tied with them in fourth place. It's not the worst not great day at the office we've had, and Spurs are only a couple of points ahead, and we've now got another away game behind it. United won't get worse this season, but they could get better in one form or other in the second half of the season, and we'll get to play them at home. So
yeah,
it's not all terrible.
I think the problem is when you see them that bad, you just really want to stick it to them, and I think we have the ability to do that. And I definitely think the combination
huge for today if we'd won today.
Look, the combination of the injuries that we had during the match, the players we had unavailable prior to the match, and the energy we expended on Sunday, I think all ultimately cost us this game more than anything that United did well. And Scott, I mean, as the match came to an end, let me ask you, can you think of a big match in recent memory? Because whatever we joke around about United, Old Trafford always a big match. Can you think of a big match in recent memory that felt less like a spectacle, less of an occasion, less of an event than this did? I mean, I realized 4 goals were scored, which I had to check to make sure that was true because it's hard to believe it. But is this the lowest energy, sort of lowest occasion big match you can remember in recent memory?
Yeah, it did really seem that there wasn't a ton of intensity, and that could be that it just didn't seem that Manchester United were really set out to attack Arsenal, which is kind of funny because I don't think Arsenal are a good defensive team, and I think I get more nervous when teams are attacking us than over when they're sitting off us and letting us have the ball more. So I think that partly led to some of it. So I guess, Spurs, for as bad as they were, they did at least try to attack. Son was dangerous in those situations. Kane couldn't keep his mouth closed and was trying to attack all that he could.
Especially the really flies, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that one was definitely a more intense match. And this one, it just, it's tough to actually, I think, probably to get the intensity up for 2 times. And, the refractory period for intensity is a little bit longer than, 3 days.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I, again, I mean, I don't want to just give us an out here. I mean, Paul, ultimately, this match feels like a missed opportunity for me, and I think you were absolutely right. You were saying it, and I probably interrupted just because it's what I'm programmed to do. But had we won this, I don't think you can overstate the impact of beating Spurs and winning at Old Trafford in a space of 3 days. As it stands, I mean, where do you come down on 4 points from these two? I mean, I realize that the default is to say that's great, but do you see it as a missed opportunity because of how poor they were?
Sure it is. I mean, United were there for the taking before the game, and having seen the game even more so, and having gone up twice and conceded in just the real damage from this is the fragility it begins to put into the team in terms of defensively. I mean, to concede basically immediately after 2 goals, it's just on the plus side, we continue to show personality and push on. So it apparently doesn't throw us off our belief that we can attack, but it ain't helping our belief we can defend. So that's the damage coming out of it. I think where we are in the table, considering, is not all bad, but this is going to be a very difficult Christmas period we're coming into with a bunch of games, injuries beginning to pile up. Some fatigue at the start of it, but we'll have a chance to rest before the weekend. This was a big missed opportunity for points, for a historic and confidence boosting win, and the chance to put the knife into a Mourinho when he's close to his knees. But on the other hand, we want Mourinho to stick around for another 6 months. So maybe it was just us being very, very smart about it.
Yeah, I feel like an Arsenal fan complaining about a draw at Old Trafford is just so unfair. But, again, I don't think you play the badge, and I don't think you evaluate it that way. That was a really bad Manchester United side that, to your point, we were ahead of twice. And so I think it's fair to say that it feels like a disappointment, not to get the result. And look, I think we missed Xhaka. I think we missed Ozil. I think losing Holding hurt. I think losing Ramsey hurt. A lot of things went against us in this game. Andre Mariner went against us. They got an offside goal. They probably should have had a player sent off. This is one of those games where all the little things that, you don't
like
often...
defending.
Well, and defending, yeah. But I mean, all the little things that can go against you. I think all the little 50-50 type things in a match and injuries and cards and all that did go against us. And so when you pile that up, plus it's an away trip 3 days after the North London Derby, I can understand how you don't come away with this. I mean, Scott, for you, bigger feeling, relief or disappointment?
Well, I think you can feel both. So one of it, looking back at the numbers, the last 2 matches, I had Arsenal expecting about 2.7 points from the matches. So to come away with 4 points is really good. At least in that regard. I think in this match, it's definitely frustrating to have come, basically drop points twice, or given up a lead. But then, you also look at how Arsenal got their goals. The first one was on a howler from David De Gea, which, you would almost never expect to happen. So I think that Arsenal were a little bit fortunate to get the goal there. So it's not necessarily something that you'd expect, and that's probably something that was gifted to us. I think that Arsenal were the better team, but I think in the end, a draw isn't the worst result with how bad Arsenal played defensively with the mistakes that they made. I think that they could have scored more, but we'll take it. You could still be disappointed, but you'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, I will definitely take it, and I think losing this would have been a huge disaster in the context of the top 4 race, keeping Manchester United in our rearview mirror in terms of keeping the unbeaten run going. I mean, is it now 20 unbeaten in all competitions?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's no small thing. I mean, Paul, for you, given that there are some disappointing results in that unbeaten run, I mean, how do you rank this? I mean, 20 unbeaten is at rising to the level of deserving a little more attention than maybe it's getting.
It is. I mean, we know there was plenty of luck in that. I mean, there's plenty of luck in every game, but 20 is 20. And I guess the thing I think we really take out of that is you see our heads never drop. No matter how often we shoot ourselves, we take out the sawn-off shotgun and shoot ourselves in, blow off one leg and then blow off the other. We still drag our torso up the pitch and come at them, and that's been maybe the most heartening thing over the last 6, 7, 8 games. We never let the head drop. We keep going at it. I think the only game we really took a back seat on in the second half was probably that Chelsea game, wasn't it? When we kind of just took the foot off the gas. And since then, we always come at it in the second half. If we can only work out that whole defending thing and the solidity and the managing a game, but a run of 20 games builds real confidence and real belief. It doesn't seem to have done too much on the defending side, though. I mean, I know we're better and we're better statistically, but sure don't feel it today.
Yeah, well, I mean, I on the whole, I think you walk away from this, you say, job done. Don't fuck it up against Huddersfield at home at the weekend, and we'll feel just fine. I mean, I think, do Chelsea play City at the weekend? I believe.
Yeah, they do have City there, so that's another chance.
We're
to
tied
get back
with them
to the top
for
four.
fourth. We're a couple points behind Spurs now, and we have a chance to crawl back into the top four with a win at the weekend if Chelsea don't get maximum points against United, and potentially
we play Huddersfield, Southampton, Burnley, Brighton are our next four before we play Liverpool.
Project 16. I called it first. Project 16.
Project 17. If we win those four and a draw at Liverpool.
Project 17?
And a draw in Liverpool.
No. Project 16. No. It's Project 16. Okay, so at least, well, it's funny because now I'm stuck. I'll give you guys the option. I have written here as the title for the podcast, A Conspiracy to Torture Us. That or Project 16? Probably a conspiracy to torture us, right?
Project 16 will sell better, trust me.
You think so?
Yeah. Riding on our old coattails.
Fine, I'll go with Project 16. So that now we have to make that a big deal. Scott, how excited are you for this next run of 4 winnable games? Is it all about Project... Oh, what am I talking about? 4 games? Yeah, it's 12. Project
that's
12. Fuck is going on here, guys? I can't call it Project 16.
Southampton, Burnley, Brighton. So there's
12.
12. And one
points.
for Liverpool.
Project 13.
That'll be Project 13.
We're going to go Project 13. Scott, how excited are you for Project 13?
I'm sticking with Project
have
16. That'll confuse the fuck out of them.
He's supposed to be the math guy. You know what? I'm calling time on this. This has been about as good as the match itself, and I want to thank everyone who put up with us for it. Look, we recorded it right at full time. Haven't had time to really digest it. Paul hasn't had time to watch it a second time, although I don't know. Were you able to watch it a second time in the 5 minutes between when it ended and when we started?
No.
Yeah, so that explains a lot. Clive and Tim will be back hopefully to bail us out after the Huddersfield game, and they can do all the math. But until then, Scott, I mean, just real quick before we say goodbye to you, with the holding injury, with the Ramsey injury, so do you think that he maybe might consider starting to go away from the back three this weekend and go back to the 4-2-3-1 we've seen against the smaller teams, or you think it's back three for the foreseeable future?
I think in this match against Huddersfield, I think we can feel comfortable going to a back four. I don't think the Huddersfield are going to be as dangerous as an attacking force as some of the other teams we played. So I think that, especially now that we have injuries to deal with, that we're not going to need to shoehorn somebody in to go for a back three.
Yeah. Be curious to see what he does with that. Look, he always keeps us guessing, which is great for hashtag content. In any event, Scott, thanks for coming on. Scott's on Twitter, @O_that_crab.
Yes, thank you.
Paul's on Twitter, @PosInMyPants. Thanks, Pause.
Hashtag Project 16.
It's 13. There's no 16. It's not even 13. It's 12 or it's 15, but it's not 16. Anyway, my name's Elliot Smith. You can block me on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. Give us a 5-star review. Write nasty things about us in the comments. And as always, we do appreciate you. We love you. If you want to go sign up for our Patreon as a holiday gift to us, our holiday gift to you is that we have a bunch of In the Spotlight episodes on the horizon. Torreira, Aubameyang, and Unai Emery, which should be fun. So you don't want to miss that. There'll be more match preview videos from Tim, which would be great. And then we'll be posting some things, some live projects that we'll do there as well, and even some video stuff. So if you want to do that, we'd love you for it. But either way, we love you. And we will talk to you after Arsenal 10, Huddersfield 0.